Hello y'all, welcome back to Pisces Mountain Farm. My name is Valerie and it is so nice to see you here. Well, being that it is May and I got a lot of things planted and I haven't taken a camera along with me, I guess it's time for a garden tour. We are going to call this the good, the bad, and the ugly edition because everything is still in the middle of being planted. I've got pots everywhere, I've got things everywhere, and not everything's cleaned up yet. I have spent this past spring dealing with some issues that are personal, and it's hard to talk about when those things don't really involve you, they're not about you. So I'm just going to say that someone I love very dearly is very, very sick. And I myself have been sick on top of it. Now, I haven't been sick to where it's of any big concern. I got a pretty nasty cold, and, you know, I'm getting over it, but it does put you out of commission. So the story of this spring for me has been just go with the flow, and it's okay to be a little bit behind because I've just been a little bit behind all spring due to circumstances beyond my control, and isn't that sometimes the story for all of us? So, with all that being said, let's just start this garden tour right at my front door, and I'm going to tell you there's weeds, there's trash, there's containers. Some of it's starting to look pretty, and maybe you can get an idea of what the vision is. I'll bring you along for some of my future plans if I happen to think about it as we're walking along, but for now, let's start right here. I've got these pots here that were given to me, but the only reason I want to start here is because we bought this Rambo apple tree from Stark Brothers, and we put it in this pot so that way we can be aware of how much water it's getting, because in the past I planted an apple tree and didn't give it enough water. I mean, this was many years ago, and it ended up dying on me. So what we're going to do with this apple tree is just plant it this fall, let it grow in this pot, kind of baby it and plant it this fall. The same thing with this little apple tree. I got this from Stark Brothers, and this is a Rambo apple tree, and it came as a bare root. Now, this one right here is a variegated Eureka pink lemonade tree. And this one does come potted, and it was in a little pot. I potted it up, and I am going to have to take this one in. It is too cold here in the winter for this to survive. This right here is tragic. This is a mimosa tree or a silk tree. It's my favorite kind of tree, and I started it and it looked dead. So I went to clean out this pot it was in. I was going to dump the dirt into my compost bin, and I jerked this thing out, and it had nice healthy roots, and it had this little green growth coming out. Now, I will say this green growth looks wilty, but it looked this way before I jerked it out of the container. That's why I thought it was a weed. I didn't think it was part of the tree because I've been watching this tree and it looked dead. But we're going to baby that one too and see what happens. Now, these two back here are rootstock for grafting. I've got, my mother-in-law has some old trees in her orchard that I would really like to get grafts from before they die, before the trees die, because they're getting pretty old. I mean, they need some care. They could possibly be rejuvenated, but just in case, I want to graft some of those trees on it. And these are Siberian, I want to say crabapple. If not, I will try to correct it up on the screen, but they make a really good rootstock. And so I'm just growing these up until they're big enough to start grafting. Alright, over here we have a tomato volunteer. It came up in one of my early plants, and it was weeks and weeks before I started tomatoes for my garden, so I decided to rescue it and pot it up. And it's covered in fruit, so I have no idea what kind it is. Now this area over here is starting to look really pretty. I'll put some video in it of what it looked like before we got it weeded. I still need to mulch these beds and probably give it another round of light weeding before it's mulched, because some things have started to grow back. These are the purple potted magnolia peas. I can never remember the name of those, so I will put that on the screen as well. And also some blush peas. And that's the same thing that's on this tower over here. This right here is Empress of India nasturtium that I just planted out. This right here is a little succulent that I had in my house that's been struggling. It did not like where I had it planted, so I just put it out here, and I'm going to let it grow and get a piece off of it in the fall and take it back in. This nasturtium here is Tip Top Rose nasturtium. Here is a petunia that I got from the plant stand. Right here is my basket of gold alyssum. It's bloomed already. I have a pink daffodil trying to bloom, but as you can see, something got a hold of that bud. Let's give you an up close look. There's that petunia. Okay, right here I put a little petunia plant that I started from seed. That right there is a cantaloupe calendula, a blue butterfly pea, one lone lisianthus that survived, some more petunias I grew from seed, this little English daisy that's just now starting to bloom. These ones are English daisies too, but they've been blooming. Another one of those beautiful petunias, but in yellow and like a purpley pink. And then the dark version. This calendula is coffee and cream calendula. And then this nasturtium right here is purple emperor. It's either emperor or empress nasturtium. Then these right here are cathedral bells. Another calendula, I'm not sure of the type. These are some coral bells, a white dandelion, more coral bells. We also have this columbine. It's really pretty. I planted some lemongrass there. I have this nasturtium, and honestly, I am not sure of the type, but it's very, very beautiful. And then I have all of those yarrows down there that I weeded out. Once I get these mulched, these beds will take off, but that's kind of everything that I've got here. Oh yeah, on this coral bell, or cathedral bells, I have a purple and a white. Not much to look at yet, but it will be once it fills in. Okay guys, I'm going to be honest with you all. It is too hot and sunny out to film right now. So I'm going to go in and hang out for a little bit, do some inside stuff, and then I will come back out and finish this tour later this evening. Alright, I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay guys, so yesterday I did not finish my garden tour because I came out here yesterday evening and built a little raised bed for my dwarf and micro dwarf tomatoes. So let me show you that real quick. addition to my greenhouse. My greenhouse is there. And I built this little bed here for my dwarf and micro dwarf tomatoes because I didn't want it to get lost in the jungle that all my regular sized tomatoes will become. So for types I have Lucky Swirl, these are a trial tomato, Pixie Stripe, dwarf tomato. These ones are another trial tomato, Pippo, P-I-P-O, dwarf tomato. Geranium Kiss, Tumbling Tom, Sweet Splash Electra. This one is variegated. It's very tiny right now, so there's really not much to show. Once it grows a little bit and gets some variegation, I'll show you though. And this one is Droplet. This one is another trial tomato. Okay, starting in this section we have our micro dwarfs. This is Whippersnapper, Orange Hat, Chibico. I don't know how you say that. Let's see. I got these facing this way for some reason. Regina Red, Aztec, and this last one right here on the end says Bunny Blues. Okay, I just wanted to show you that real quick. And now I'm going to start where I left off on my tour yesterday. And that would be, we did the beds that are sitting up against my house, so I'm going to do the beds across from that along my runoff pond. I did this bed yesterday. I'm going to start with this bed. I got this weeded. Yes, weeds are starting to grow back already. I need to get it mulched. I have some sea holly, some nasturtium. This one is, that one is Bloody Mary. I've got these roses here that I moved from my top field. Honestly, they did not have a name. They were sold as one of those little gift sets you get around Valentine's Day that you'll get with the little mini roses in it. And it didn't have a type. It just said like florist rose or gift rose or mini rose. It was generic. Little hosta. My peony that's got this big beautiful bud. This peony was moved from my bottom field. It had been planted in an area where it didn't get enough sun, so it would grow, but it wouldn't bloom. So this is only the second year it's bloomed, even though this plant's probably about 7 or 8 years old. That's how long it was down there before I decided to move it. Alright. This nasturtium is called Kroshka. And when I make my tags, I put last on it because that lets me know I planted the last of my seeds and I really need to save seeds from this one. You can't tell it, it just looks orange, but it's kind of a soft, almost apricot color. Let's see, this right here is Prairie Smoke. And it gets these cool little seed heads that are kind of wispy. I've never seen the seed heads. This is the first year it's bloomed. This right here I want to say is called Cherry Tart Sedum or something like that. It's coming back from last year. And then I have this Lemon Coral Sedum that kind of died off, but there's this one little piece surviving. And so I'm just going to let it go and hopefully it spreads. Like here's what you can see, like here's where the root was last year. Nothing. But that one little piece fell off and survived. So there is my rose getting ready to bloom. And we still do need to weed across this back. It just takes time and we haven't made it there yet. This nasturtium, if I can get a picture of it, is actually very orange. It is called, oh, it's saved seed from last year. These peas on this tower are the same ones I had over there, the magnolia tendril pea and the blush pea. This little nasturtium, I don't know what kind it is. I think that this is a saved seed as well. And I think those are ones I saved from seed as well. Because they are planted with this one that I've got tag saved seed. And those ones don't have tags. And I think that I did have 3 of them. So, in my mind, it makes sense that I would plant them together. Because that's the way my brain works. Back here, there is Mary's Niagara ground cherry. I've got a couple little marigolds that I planted in here. This right here is a green twister coneflower, and I planted these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are all cappuccino, rudbeckia. They probably won't bloom until next year because I grew them from seed and they're perennial, so this is their first year in the ground. There's a good chance that they won't bloom until next year, though because I did winter sow them, there is a slight chance that they could bloom this fall, because sometimes winter sowing gives them the cold needed to go ahead and bloom the first year. Sometimes that has nothing to do with it. So most likely won't see flowers from those this year. That right there is something that looks like it reseeded. I'm really not quite sure what it is yet, but I left it because it looked different than all the other weeds that were around. And if it's a weed, I'll pull it later. Right here and right here are chocolate cosmos. Let's see. Bodacious swirl. I got these in a seed trade. I got 4 seeds. I planted 2. And these are the 2. Another nasturtium. I kind of planted nasturtium all across here to fill in. This one's called Cultural Pink. Right here, I just have some time. We're moving into the herb portion of my garden. I planted this spicy saber basil there. And I will come through and fill in some of these bare spots that might be happening, like in this garden. As things start to grow and get some size to it and I plant more things, I'll be plugging stuff in this. So if things don't get full enough or grow enough, then I'll come through and put things in here to fill it out. This is pineapple mint. I want to say, yeah, pineapple mint. Right back here, that is some St. John's wort. I have a lavender here. This right here is some prairie smoke. It's not as far along as the other 2. They were all planted at the same time. These ones just aren't blooming yet. And then I have another little nasturtium that doesn't seem to be marked, so I have no clue what kind it is. We will just have to wait and see. I'll be able to tell through the process of elimination because I know what I've planted out here. Right here is, there is some orange thyme that I planted. I grew this from seed. I winter sowed it in the jugs. And it does have an orangey smell. It smells like thyme, but it does have a little bit of an orangey smell. Okay, back here, I have, can't see it, but a little sage plant coming back here. These are bee balm. I have some chocolate mint. I have apple mint. And I have a few little yarrow right there. And also some Trades Cantia, Spider's Wort, Job's Tears. I still need to weed all of that out and get it out of the grass. You see that other one getting ready to bloom there. But people would take the little beads or the little pods that these gets and they would make rosaries out of them. So right there is where my elderberry's coming back. So this bed that I have here along my runoff pond, we're going to extend it all the way around to where my elderberry is, because in this area here I have some masterwort that is being drowned out by weeds, and I still haven't weeded it yet. So we might give it a quick glance when I walk by, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Alright, let's go, instead of going up the hill, this right here will not become clean until my whole garden is planted. Once my whole garden is planted, this will be able to be cleaned up, but right now it's just like the work spot, the drop spot, the central spot for everything. And I know it's kind of in my front yard, but it is what it is, even though I hate that phrase. And it will be this way until I get everything planted. I've got basil, calendula, basil. I just filled this earth grow box with marigolds. I think it'll be full. They're just all different types of marigolds. These are all seedlings that were started, I want to say about a month ago. These are warm weather stuff. I have, let's see, I have statice and asters and celosia and zinnias and dahlias from seed and coleus. And this right here is cotton. I had green and brown cotton. I'm not sure which one this is. But it's all the same type because I planted them in such a way where they would have come up together in a row. And so these are all the same type, but I'm not sure if it's the green or the brown. I said asters and coleus and zinnias. So yeah, these are all just things that I'll be slowly planting out over the next couple of weeks. Another tray of basil. This gardenia, this poor gardenia is so struggling. I got this thing on sale for $3 last year at the end of the season, and it was beautiful and healthy. And over the winter, I about killed it. I mean, it was doing good until, I want to say, a couple months ago, and I don't know if it got like some kind of pest or disease. So I think that I'm going to put it in the ground for the summer and then dig it up in the fall because it won't survive here over winter. But maybe if I put it in the ground, it'll get the nutrients. And like, you can see that the leaves are greening up. I'm just not sure what happened to it. These are more seedlings that I've got started. There's a couple melons, some lemon basil, some japonica corn, which only one came up. I'm having kind of some spotty germination on my seeds this year, and I don't know if it's user error or because seeds are old, because not all of my seeds are old. This right here is just more stuff that I need to get planted. I'm not going to go through and tell you every variety, but I'll give you a quick overview of what there are. Those are some strawberries. That's an amaryllis. That is motherwort. House plants. I need to give this a big haircut. Some more marigolds that I need to plant. Some corn. That's glass gem corn. A plant I got from the nursery. I don't know what it's called. It's a vine. It gets flowers. I've never grown it before, but it's pretty and I needed something that vines. Some patchouli. Just some more random stuff I need to plant. This is some Moldavian dragon head balm, some coleus that I grew from seed and overwintered. I overwintered more than this, but these are the only ones that survived because they got neglected. Some dahlia tubers I got from the store this year. I always grow them in pots to get them started, and then I will take them out of the pots and look for gall, and if there's no gall, I will plant them in the ground. Some ornamental oregano I planted in here. These are just jugs and stuff that I still need to get planted. My blood orange tree that I need to get in a better pot because this one is broken and leaning. And these were growing in my gardenia. I guess seeds dropped. That one's a pepper, and I don't know what the other two things are, but I just put them in there to see what they are. I will rearrange these things a little bit more nice once I get this mess cleared out. And then that leads us to the bed that I built last night. So there's the bed. We're going to go beside the greenhouse. This right here is a hydrangea that I grew as a plug. It was about 75 or the 72 cell plug size, if you know what that size that is. So, you know, about like that. There is a hydrangea I bought from clearance, on the clearance section last year. And I'm curious to see what color the blooms are going to be, because as you can see, it's starting to get buds. The reason is that it said specific, it was this deep red color. And it did say that like a lot of hydrangeas, the pH of your soil could change the color. So I'm just curious to see if it'll come up the same color or if it'll be different this year. This is a rose I transplanted from my top field. It is not coming back. When I transplanted it, it was iffy, but I did it anyways to give it a shot. This one right here is one I transplanted also, and it's got a lot of good growth. I will not be able to tell you what type it is until it blooms. Once it blooms, and it does look like all the growth is coming above the graft, so it should be the type I got and not revert back to rootstock, because it looks like all the growth is, yeah, it looks like all the growth is above the graft. So once it blooms, I should be able to tell you what type it is. This right here is hard to see, but this got eaten back. This is the rose. You can kind of see the leaves. I'm not going to take it out. Let's see from this angle. Can you see better? It's got some good growth on it. It's got eaten back once, and this one's really important to me because I brought it from the house that I basically grew up in Huntington. My mother isn't doing well, so I went and dug this flower up. And it always hurts a little bit when your flowers get eaten or die, but this one just means way more to me than all the rest. So once it got eaten back, I had to cover it so that way nothing would eat it. And it's making it, so that just makes me extremely happy. It's another hydrangea. It's the same as that other little plug on the end. It came in like a 72 cell plug size. And those will be the same ones. I think they're like a pink. Okay, and then that leads us to this bed that's back here behind my greenhouse. But let's go start up here. Alright, I transplanted these coral bells from the top field last year and put them on the end. These are all strawberries. I had these all scrunched in a grow bag for like, I want to say a good 6 or 8 months while we were doing some projects but waiting to get this greenhouse built because we dug up this area. Then it was a while before we could start on it. So I had these in a grow bag, and once we got my greenhouse up, we planted these, and now they're starting to grow. 2 more coral bells that I took from the top field. The little ones are younger. The older ones, or the big ones, are older plants. These are all strawberries, all different types. There's everbearing, I want to say some Junebearing, and then some alpine strawberries. And we need to fix it. We need to extend the rocks this way because there's actually berries planted here. And then that leads into this bed. So we need to just continue this stone, which we will do. These are my winter sown jugs. This right here is some hardy kiwi. There's both green and purple that I got in a seed swap. Some agastache. I don't know how everyone says it. That's how I say it. What's the type? Rose mint agastache. Nothing has come up in this one. Nothing in that one. Nothing in this one. I have one single strawberry in this. This right here needs to be opened up. I don't know if you can see, but there's a strawberry down in there. It's an alpine strawberry. This one has nothing. This one right here is a pawpaw, and it doesn't have anything yet either, but I can still see the seeds in there and they look good. Okay, I have perennials planted over here. Some started from seed, some bought on clearance. And honestly, this is getting ready to bloom, and I have no clue what it is. I'm not sure what a lot of this stuff is because it's not marked. I do have this columbine I grew from seed. Once this stuff comes up, I'll know what it is. All these hostas that I got on clearance are doing well. Some Orlea, it's doing really well. I have some pink molly grass coming back right there, but look how well all these hostas are doing. This right here is a bunch of lilies that have taken over, but this whole area needs weeded. I've got these giant hostas. I mean, and it's not even full grown yet. And this one back here is pretty large too. And then all of this needs weeded. There are perennials in here. And this stump right here has several different kinds of sedum in it. And hens and chicks. So we've just been adding to that, and some of it does well, some of it doesn't. Okay. My messy driveway. We had to move this bathtub. This bathtub is partially on a couple of my asparagus, but when my mother came to visit me a couple of months ago, we had to move the bathtub to make sure she had walking room. This will eventually go in my house. It's a nice cast iron tub. I don't want anything fiberglass or vinyl or any of that, acrylic. This bed is needing weeded, but these are all asparagus, different asparagus that I started from seed. And they are flowering and dropping seeds, which is fine. But I also have this rhubarb here that I started from seed. Now I really do need to weed this bed and get some mulch or something down. But I'm slowly working across everything, and I'll get to this one eventually. That's a big old weed though. That'll have to come out soon. Those are some thistles. This is a thistle growing right here. Alright. We have astilbes planted in this area. You're going to see a theme of things needing weeded. We started weeding some of the stuff. And back there is my lone lady's mantle. And then we have these beds grown over. As you can see, all of my brassicas are bolting. I did plant my hot peppers down here, and they've only been in the ground for maybe a week now at most. And it hasn't rained since then, but they are starting to grow and green up, as you can see. They were struggling in their little pots. But all of these have gone to seed, except for these Brussels sprouts back here, so I will probably pull everything and leave those until they start to bolt. My onions that I started from seed kind of late are growing. They're putting on size, but man, it's so weedy there. If I don't do something about it, they're probably not going to get too big. Alright. This side of this bed needs weeded. Got sweet alyssum in bloom. And I have ranunculus here that haven't done anything. And then I have this Sweet William. Yeah, I have the Sweet William, and the petals are looking kind of funky, and I would say that it's pest damage because I can see bugs on it. Which, I mean, if the bed looked like this, it doesn't surprise me that there's pest damage. Over here, I planted some Sweet Annie that I grew in jugs. And that's some Godita. Guess that's how you say it. It's getting ready to bloom. It's got a little bud. In this area, I planted all those bulbs that I stored underneath my house, like the dahlias and the monkey flower, because this will be fairly easy to dig up. So I did dig them into the dirt. They're not just sitting in this, even though this is really, really broken down. They're in the dirt also. And I have tested this. I grew a pea in it, and it was really, really bright green. This is just decomposed. This is just decomposed wood chips that have been sitting for years and years and years and years and years. This right here is mostly Lisianthus. They're starting to put on size. I did weed this recently, but it comes back so quick, and I do need to get mulch down. These Lisianthus are really starting to put on size. I do have a couple of snapdragons that aren't looking as great, and a couple of dianthus. So there are a few other things, but this is mostly Lisianthus. And as you can see, some of them are starting to get size. Some of them are small still. There's all different types, but I lost some of them, so until they grow, once again, I can't tell you what types they are. So now we're going to head to this area. There's nothing planted there yet. Alright, we put in these little tomatoes. We hayed this field, and then we made little holes and planted tomatoes into the ground, into soil that's been amended. So, we have Dancing with Smurfs, Wagner Blue-Green. Yeah, those are starting to look good. These were struggling too. Uh-oh, this one, Mushroom Basket's not looking great. Huh. That one might be dead. Oh well, that's the only one of those I planted. That's why you should plant more than one. Rosenstraub. Friendship. That one's doing okay. Amana. That one's getting green growth. Zebra Balea. Balea Vishna. Zlatovka. Prairie Fire, Midnight Snack, Crimson Jingle. Okay. Golden Jubilee. Hillbilly. Ponderosa. Golden Domes. Berkeley Tie-Dye. Green Grape. Crimson Potato Tomato. Fuzzy Wuzzy. It's got these fuzzy little, almost velvety texture. Green Tiger. Sweet Aperitif. Granny's Throwing. And Rebel Starfighter Prime. So those are all the tomatoes in these top 2 rows. Most likely in this bottom part, we will plant something that can take a little bit more shade. It does get quite a bit of sun, but the further this way you go, the less sun it gets. We could probably do tomatoes on this row. It'd be perfectly fine. We might do that, or I've got a few tomatoes left. They might go in the top field. All right. That's really all we've got going on right here is these couple of rows of tomatoes. As you can see, we're in the field below my greenhouse and my house. All right, I need to go in. It is time for some house chores for a little bit, and I will come out and finish the rest of this garden tour later this evening. So I will see you this evening for me, but for you it'll be like no time has passed. Alright, so I am in front of my house and it's a little bit later in the day, and we're going to continue with this garden tour. So we're going to go up to the top. We finally got deer netting up here. Okay, on this side, I'll just put some decorative grasses. We'll have to wait and see what they are. Over here, as you can see, this is where my radishes and my carrots are coming up, but they're looking a bit stunted to me. Maybe I'm just a little impatient, but they don't look like they're growing very fast. We'll give it some time and see. But all along this back here, which I'm going to water as soon as I'm done filming this video, I planted beans. And there are all different types, and what I did is I tagged them. And instead of going through and reading all the different types, I will just give you an overview of some. Like I've got velvet bean, I've got purple potted pole, I've got whatever that word is, skunk. It's like a black and white bean. But I've got those all along this pole, all along this side where the poles are. In this area, I have put my sweet peppers that were struggling, and that one doesn't look too great. It looks like bugs or something are eating this one. That one's getting green. That one's greening up. That's a Juric tomato pepper. This one back here is a Sweet Peaks. I've got, I will put the name of that, I don't know how to say it. A Sultan, Goliath. These are all sweet peppers. So in this area I have my sweet peppers that I grew from seed. And they were struggling, but they are starting to green up. This right here is where I planted some sweet corn. And it's the early sun glow sweet corn, and only a few plants popped up, but they're doing well. This right here is some amaranth that I had grown in a little tin. And this right here is broom corn. Now broom corn and regular sweet corn, field corn, won't pollinate, won't cross-pollinate. They are a different species from what I understand. And so you don't have to worry about them cross-pollinating. More amaranth. So I put amaranth flanking each side of the corn. And this right here is the Blue Jade sweet corn, and it has a different, this ripens later or before that one, I can't remember. One of them, let's say that one's the early glow sweet corn. This one ripens at a much earlier date than this one. So if everything goes well, they should be maturing at a different time and therefore won't have the opportunity to cross-pollinate. Okay, these right here are more sweet peppers that I saved seed from. And they are doing quite well since I have put them out. They've been out here a little bit longer than the stuff I planted down there. And you can tell because they're starting to put on some new growth. So those are the sweet peppers. Apparently I've got some beans starting to pop up along the back, and I do need to get water up here to water them, to help them germinate. Whenever I'm direct sowing things like this, if it's particularly warm and dry, sometimes I will water them 2 to 3 times a day. I will water them in the morning. Sometimes I will water them midday like it is now if I see that the soil's looking kind of dry. And then sometimes I will water them again in the evening until they are mostly germinated. And I do have a few popping through right now, but I feel like I don't have enough popping through to stop with the watering yet. So just for the sake of keeping those seeds moist, I'll come water them when I'm done with this tour. Okay, along this middle bed here, I did a double row of tomatoes, and I only have stakes up for part of this row. I need to do another row of stakes, and then I need to do all the stakes for this row. But let's look at these varieties. Painted Lady, that would be this one right here. Black Beauty, look how dark. Hold on, where are you? Look how dark those leaves are compared to my Painted Lady here. And once this Painted Lady starts growing, that is variegated. Let's see, we've got Black Prince. We've got Dark Galaxy. These were quite small when I put them in the ground too, and I just put them in the ground, so they're just starting to take off. I have Thornburg's Terracotta. Vintage One. Looks like one is... Oh, that was a little baby seedling. Yeah, there was one that sprouted up. I'll show you, it didn't make it. But it was a late sprouter. And so I thought I'd plant it and give it a chance because those cells were getting dried too quickly. But it was a chocolate cherry, and I still do have one right there. This one is a Big Zack. These are supposed to get huge tomatoes, and it is my last seed of that variety. So I put last on this thing, the stake, the tag, whatever, so that way I know to save seeds. So I try to save seeds for as many things as I can. But if I've got a particular variety that I'm planting my last seed, I like to mark that in some way, so that way I can pay special attention, get bit by something, and make sure I'm saving those seeds, just in case, you know, I get it in my head, oh, I don't need to save seeds this year. I know that I do need to save those seeds, because sometimes I'll be like, I've got plenty of seeds, I don't need to save those, just because I get lazy. And this indicates to me, hey, you've got things out here you actually need to make sure that you're getting more seeds of, so that way you can replenish your supply. In case you missed it on some of my other videos, these little tags that you see sticking up, what I did was I got these little, they're little bamboo, I think they're 1/4 of an inch bamboo stakes. I got 400 of them for like $19.99 off of Amazon. And on some of them I took the time to burn the name into it this past spring when I was just sitting around watching TV. But you know, you don't have enough time to get all of them. So I took the little tags and just stapled them to the stake because it sticks up. And this doesn't seem like a big deal. In years past we have just put those little plastic tags in the ground, and they either get, by the end of the season, they get lost because your fruit gets too huge, or just the mulch shifts because of the rain and the wind, and eventually it's just buried and you have no idea what kind it is, because sometimes you're able to dig out the stakes and or the little plastic tags, and other times you dig around and you dig around and you just can't find where they are. So and I won't save things unless I know for sure the variety. So if I lose a tag for something and it's not something I can figure out through the process of elimination, I just won't save seeds for that. And there have been times that I've planted out my last seeds and not saved seeds because I couldn't find the tag. So in an attempt to be better about not losing tags, I came up with this, and I was going to use the little paint stir thingies, but it was like 100 of them for $20, and I'm like, I've probably got 100 tomato varieties, so I needed way more. So I went with these. I just stapled the tags on, and sometimes it doesn't close all the way, or sometimes it'll split the wood a little bit. That's fine, it still does its job. Oh, here's an example of one that I wood burnt the name of, the chocolate cherry. Alright, now that we've got that long-winded explanation out of the way, let's go on with the tomato varieties. This one is a Phelan's First Snow, and this one is a variegated Cherokee Purple. Basically, it's a cross between Cherokee Purple and one of the variegated varieties, but the fruit looks and tastes like a Cherokee Purple. It's just got variegated leaves. So some people will call this a variegated Cherokee Purple, but the actual name is Phelan's First Snow. Okay, let's see this next one. Sweet Million. This is a cherry. It's very similar to the Super Sweet 100. Honestly, I can't say that one's sweeter than the other. I like them both. I grow them both. The next one is Pineapple, and it looks like I've only got one of those. Anise Noir, which is black pineapple, and it's planted right next to the regular pineapple. That was not done on purpose. I have a Zebrino, that's a cherry. The Super Sweet 100. A Dr. Weish's or Dr. Witchy's. White Tomasol, and a Cherokee Rose. This one right here I should have planted more of, but only one germinated. I have been daydreaming about this tomato since last year. For some reason, when I think of tomatoes, this is the one I think of. Not that it's the end all be all, it's just it tastes so good and I can't wait to taste it again. And that's just my decorative grasses. Alright. I'm just going to step across. Right now I can do that. Right now I can step across because it's not grown up. Alright. This one is stew pice. This one is trip L crop. This one is Granny's Throwing. This one is Belaya Vishna, and I really think that I have those down at the bottom too. That happens whenever you plant so many. You get confused sometimes. I honestly have no clue how many varieties or how many tomatoes I have planted in the ground. I have not taken the time to count them. So it's a mystery, but hopefully they do well and we can have a good time doing taste tests this summer. Next in line, black cherry. And then to end out this row, big rainbow. Okay. This one is woolly blue jay, and look how interesting this foliage is. Let's show you a normal tomato. The green of a normal tomato that's just now starting to green back up. The woolly blue jay. Look how beautiful that foliage is. It's fuzzy and it's got a bluish cast. And I grew this last year but did not save any of the seeds. I put it in a place where it was not happy. It was too shaded. And so it only got one little fruit on it. So I'm excited to see what it does this year. This one right here is a trial tomato and it's early stripe. This one is a cherry and it's rising straw. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a multiflora, which means it gets little bursts of blooms and not like bracts, long bracts like chains. Brown berry. That's a cherry tomato. Jelly bean. That's another cherry. Sart Rollis, I don't know if that's how you say it. Rebel Starfighter. Oh, hold on. Rebel Alliance. I have one that's called Rebel Starfighter Prime. I think I showed you down here. Well, this one's Rebel Alliance. And this one is Splash of Cream, which is also a variegated tomato that once it gets a little bigger, it will start showing its variegation. Okay, I still have this row right here, and we still need to get some compost up here. But when I'm digging these in, I'm digging down through all this and planting them in the dirt that we have been working on for the last several years. So I'm not planting them in the mulch at all. I'm planting them down through that into the dirt. So this row is going to be filled with tomatoes as well. Once I get the rest of my tomatoes planted up here, I will give you a tour of the rest of the varieties I'm planting this year. But this should be the row that they're going in. We just need to put compost to finish up this row. Let's see. I want to say I do have a door here. Because I don't feel like messing with it, I'm just going to walk back down here to go out. And also I need to shut this anyways. So this is more of just like a mixed row. This middle row is a double row of tomatoes. I still need to get stakes in. And I'm going to put tomatoes here, but it might not fill up the whole row. So this back row right there might be mixed. And honestly, guys, that right there is my high tunnel in pieces, waiting to be put up. As this stuff starts to grow, and once I get my stakes in, I will be tucking things like some basil and some marigolds and whatever in the rows with my tomatoes. So I just want to get those stakes up first so I don't cause too many obstructions to get in the way. It's bad enough I got my tomatoes in already. Okay, this right here is overgrown with dewberries and blackberries. But I do have my row of blueberries. So the plan is to get this all weeded and mowed. See, look at all these dewberries. Dewberries are like a blackberry, but they're sweeter and softer. They more have the texture of a raspberry, maybe even softer than that. But they're shaped like a blackberry more and have more of a blackberry taste. I like them more than blackberries. I actually like dewberries and I don't like blackberries, so. They're invasive, but that right there is either blackberry or black raspberry. Okay, so this area, I've got a couple of vining plants that I'm going to plant here. I want to clean out these little beds and plant with some flowers that the deer are resistant to. I know nothing's deer proof, but I want to plant some deer resistant things. I put beans on these last year, but this year I'm going to do some flowers because I planted my beans elsewhere. This needs weeded, but there are a few things growing in here, but ultimately I think this year I'm going to do a little patch of sunflowers because it's protected and the deer can't get in there to eat it. Like I do have a grapevine there. And amongst the weeds, I have a grapevine there. And I have this climbing rose here with a bud on it. So there are things in here. Ooh, my hollyhocks I didn't think were making it. At least one looks like it's coming back in the middle. But yeah, I'm going to weed this and probably just put some sunflowers in with what I think is my hollyhock coming back. This slope right here, besides this little perennial bed we've got going, is just all going to be cut down. I do have glads planted down there. We're just going to kind of let them do their thing for now. Our main focus is to get all of these berry bushes cut down that don't belong. I do have a few herbs here. I've got more bee balm. I've got some lemon thyme. And I have some, what's it called? And whatever this white plant is right now that I can't remember the name of for the life of me. And yeah, it's soft and fuzzy. They used to use it as bandages. Anyways, yeah, I need to get that weeded out because as you can see, it's being drowned out by berries. This is so grown over, I don't know if I'd be able to find it. But I did have some lavenders started. Ooh, look. There's one. It's a lavender I started from seed. So, once we get this weeded out, there may be some lavender in this area. That over there has a couple of herbs planted, but besides that box, we're just mowing it to the ground. There are lots of places that we're just kind of just mowing down this year and not doing anything with, so to speak, because we're trying to get some of these places in really, really good shape so that way we can move on. Like instead of trying to do everything all at once, we're going to try to focus on these beds that we're doing most of our growing in, and then we can expand outwards. Alright, there's a lot of things I didn't show you because it's just not blooming or there's nothing going on there, or honestly sometimes I just forget because they become part of the background to me. But that's what's going on in a lot of our main growing areas. And I hope that they get big and lush and there's something for us to look at mid-season when all of this should be a jungle. There's part of me that is worried that there's part of me that worries that it'll just not thrive and there won't be much to show. But either way, I hope you stick around for the journey, and thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. I will see you next time.